What's up, guys? It all started with the Kamala Harris visit, and not a good one. Remember this clip? I love it.
Arrogance of the Americans. The bulliness of the Americans. Let me even throw it on the West side. America right now comes to Tanzania, comes to Ghana, comes to Zambia with 16 million. The 16 million, ask me, what is it for?
What is it for?
For human rights. Across the river, China and Russia coming to South Africa. Ask me for what?
For what?
For a military training and skills sharing of security. So the Americans are more interested in a transgender, homosexual agenda around the world. They will invest their money and give you money to protect human rights. Russia and China are coming with weapons and militarization strategies so that we can protect ourselves. So I want to say this very loud and clear to the Americans. Continue on your transgender agenda. Stay there. Leave us to do politics on the other side. Because what we need right now is not a minority human rights activation. What we need is a societal transformation.
You were spot on, Mapanga, and a societal transformation is what they've done. We're going to go through a progressive move by Africa and the likes which have never been seen. So like, sub, and watch this video throughout. It's fascinating. We bless Africa with prayers and love. The U.S. made a trip to force the LGBTQ agenda on a country that has the highest moral ethics and values of any nation, African culture and family. Nonetheless, that was a telling moment for Africans, and they gave Kamala and the Western world a taste of reality.
Okay, first of all, let's get this straight. United States, USA, whatever the f*** you guys call yourself, you cannot go around the world and start bullying people to do stuff because you guys are okay with all this bullshit and nonsense. Africa is not your fucking country. If you want to accept all this LGBTQ stuff going on here, that's fine. That is fine. That don't give you the right to go try to bully other country to do this fucking shit. Keep your ass in America. Keep your ass in Europe. That is just simple.
Why are they going to Africa to beg Africans and to force Africans to accept homosexuality in Africa? This is a big insult to black African countries. Stop insulting black Africans by going to Africa and telling us to accept homosexuality in our countries. If you accept homosexuality in America, that is America. We don't have nothing to do with that. That's your business.
So now I've just shown you two examples of how African citizens viewed the Vice President Kamala Harris LGBTQ visit, but the government leaders in Africa who actually listened to their people and side with the majority, true democracy, took drastic steps for their people. True democracy is what they've shown. And when I say drastic measures they've taken, well, they rewrote their playbook on how they were going to move forward and away from America's insanity. Africa said no and meant it. Meaningful actions without the flossy nonsense and the hillipilification that politicians are so good at. Africa fired back with faith-based actions and works and instituted strict anti-gay laws and legislation to be carried out by law enforcement. Major moves took place on a pace so fast that the Biden administration had no time to talk. Maybe that's because the leaders of Africa wouldn't even let them talk. They told American bureaucrats to shut up. No, literally, to shut up.
Those who like easy life end up as prostitutes. And that's what they want us to be. They want Africa to be prostitutes. Do what we don't believe in because we want money. And this is what I told them. Whenever they come to me, I say, you please shut up. Now, I want to congratulate the honorable members of parliament on your stand on the Ebitingwa. That's what the Banyankwele call what they call homosexuals. Congratulations. I congratulate you for that strong stand. It is good that you rejected the pressure from the imperialists. And this is what I told them. Whenever they come to me, I say, you please shut up.
From that moment, Africa took a new stance and found new friends, or at least new allies, who wouldn't impose any of their traditions or cultures like the West. They shook hands with Russia and China and said, screw NATO for now, we want in on the BRICS, where the security and trade has been a playbook more to their liking. America had it wrong. They overplayed their hand. The American government tried to impose on African Africans what it easily imposed on its own citizens through intimidation tactics, cancel culture, and being branded as hate groups even. But the US government got a wake-up call from a country who actually stood strong on their faith when they tried it on African soil. And now that many African countries have established new anti-gay laws and more of their countries are following suit, it doesn't stop there. Africa's not playing games anymore, guys. Even as far as denouncing the American dollar, they're talking fiscal and monetary actions that will move them forward into being not only a world leaders in trade, but eventually obtaining or at least getting started on the road to superpower status, which they deserve. They're a powerful people. The president of Kenya even stepped forward and told his people to get rid of your American dollars will be devalued from the upcoming economic climate. Great information for any stockholders, and he said we're going to start this momentum into buying our fuel with the shilling.
For the people who work numbers, I am giving you free advice that those of you who are holding dollars, you surely might go into losses. You better do what you must do, because this market is going to be different in a couple of weeks. Dollar availability in the next couple of weeks is going to be very different, because our fuel companies will now be paying for fuel in Kenya shillings. They do not have to look for dollars every month.
He also stated that they would not put climate change laws into effect if they were going to hinder the economy that hurt families and livelihoods of the people that are living in Africa. So that was great to hear. So now African leaders are dealing in their new social and economic issues, and it's giving the world that common sense look again. And they also see a problem with the fake news and have even asked them to quit pushing false narratives to the publics for a paycheck. Well, said in a more dignified manner. Take a look.
All I ask of our good friends in the civil society space, including you, Mo, is always to look out for the interests of the people of our continent, and not sometimes to play to the gallery of the people who pay your check.
Africa has taken a new leadership role that is making Africa a billboard model for the world just by being themselves, by taking a step back and looking at what other nations have to offer. If America says go left, they go right. If America says don't go to Russia, they're on a plane the next day shaking hands. If America cancels the visas of their politicians, like Anita Among, Speaker of Parliament of Uganda,
that you're going to be blocked from going to America. Do I need to go to America? I was sent here by people of Bukedea.
as I was saying, America does one thing, like cancel visas of African leaders, and Africa does the complete opposite, is touche, and tells Africans in diaspora that they can come back home and they don't even need visas. Clip.
I know, for example, that many of you have had to get visa to come to Kenya, but I have some good news for you. This may be the last time you are getting a visa to come to Kenya. I have today informed my brother, President Goulet. From today, it is now possible for you to travel to Nairobi and Kenya without the requirement.
African leaders are even asking for forgiveness of the slave trades that their ancestors made and humbly dedicating their land back to God.
Therefore, on behalf of all the African leaders, past and present, all of them, I acknowledge the part that we played in this tragedy, and today we ask for forgiveness. We seek forgiveness for the great pain and loss that the myopic and selfish decisions of our leaders caused our brothers and sisters of African descent around the world, and we ask their forgiveness. We plead the blood of Jesus to cleanse us all from this great sin and release us from the spiritual, mental, emotional, and economic bondage it brought. Today, we reopen the door to our brothers and sisters of African descent to return home to the continent of Africa, the land of their ancestry and the spiritual homeland of all African people.
We also want to rededicate ourselves as the body of Christ in Uganda and in Africa, to work together in unity and love to see our nations transformed for your glory.
While America is celebrating Pride Month and giving its children and minds to the devil, Pride Month, naked men prancing around little kids in America on your left, prayer and forgiveness being offered in Africa on your right. Take your pick. Humble yourself before the Lord and he will heal your land. 7 things God says he hates in the Bible. There are 7 things. And one of those things is a prideful person, and that's why you see pride before the fall. Now, you tell me who's sowing seeds for blessings and prosperity and who's sowing seeds for judgment, plagues, and whatever other curses go along with pride and self-absorption. America has gone from a leader that asks Jesus for guidance to a leader who entertains demons for kicks and giggles.
We felt such pride here in the South Lawn when I signed the historic Respect for Marriage Act.
And lets them in the White House doors.
It's day 222 of being a girl. I'm in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to the White House to speak to the President of the United States. I get to sit down with Joe Biden and now this news, and I get to ask him a few questions surrounding trans issues in the United States and talk to him about my transness. I'm ready to step up and show that trans people, we're not going anywhere, and that trans kids, they deserve a fighting chance to be their true selves, okay? Oh my God, I'm running late, let's go! And y'all are obviously wondering what I'm gonna wear to meet the president. Here you go. It's the trans flag colors. Cute, right? It's the heels. Okay, Dylan, you're gonna be great. I love you, let's go. The President of the United States gave me a cookie. He gave me a cookie in the Oval Office. Now here's the question. Do I eat it? Or do I save it? It has a seal. Please, honestly, tell me. Everyone, I got to pet the dog. I got to pet his dog.
So I feel very, very strongly that that you should have every single solitary right, including use of your gender identity bathrooms in public.
Thank you. Thank you. And it feels like Republicans have turned trans and non-binary people into this thing to blame society's downfall on in some ways. And this narrative is not only dangerous to our mental health, but also our physical safety. How can Democratic leaders be more effective in advocating for us trans people and our families and our lives and our opportunities?
I'm not being facetious when I say this, being seen with people like you. No, I mean it. I genuinely mean it. People fear what they don't know. They fear what they don't know.
That with this information that we give you, we also give you what's going on in the United States, like what's going on in the schools. Check out what this lady has to say about the schools bringing in LGBTQ books and indoctrination books to the kids, to the classmates from 4-year-olds to 8-year-olds. Check out what she said. That way you know what to look out for on your end.
Hello, I'm here to speak on behalf of our younger children and their academics. This book, It Feels Good to Be Yourself, which has an oxymoronic title based on its content, can be found in 26 elementary schools. It basically is geared toward ages 4 through 8. It introduces 4 different characters with different gender identities. It makes it seem as if gender is an imaginary concept that can be changed on a whim, when the truth is gender is factual. You're either a boy or a girl. And gender identity, what you see yourself as, that's imaginary. Well, let me read you a couple of things. First character is Ruthie. She's a transgender girl. That means when she was born, everyone thought she was a boy until she grew a little older, old enough to tell everyone that she's actually a girl. Then there's her brother Xavier. Xavier is a cisgender boy. Which 4 through 8-year-old knows what cisgender means? That means when Xavier was born, everyone thought he was a boy, and as he grew older, it turned out everyone was right. He was a boy. Then there's Alex, the friend. Alex is both a boy and a girl. Then there's JJ. JJ is neither a boy nor a girl. Ever since JJ was very little, they never felt exactly like a boy or girl. They just felt like themselves. This is JJ's gender identity. Some kids feel like girls. Some kids feel like boys. Some kids feel like a little bit of both. Part boy, part girl. Reminds me of that old commercial. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Is that okay? Some kids don't feel exactly like a boy or a girl. They feel like neither. Some kids feel that their gender identity isn't always the same. It's often changing. So now are we endorsing schizophrenia? What are we doing? Whether you feel like a boy or a girl or neither, if you describe yourself another way, that is your gender identity. When does this foolishness stop? When you shroud lunacy, insanity, or fallacy in colorful words and pictures to be read to young children, you have created an unsafe environment, since we're talking about safe environment, right? Where does it stop? At this tender age, our children should be learning their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Who authorized this? Who told you that you are God? Who gave you permission to tell our children who they are and who they're supposed to be? This is intentional and evil at its core. Get back to what you were elected to do and formally educate our children, not indoctrinate them with left-wing ideologies under the guise of providing a safe and welcoming space. Hear us clearly. We will not surrender our children. Leave our children alone.
Okay, so we can see here in America that they're pushing it all through the government, even in the White House, even on the front White House lawns. They're having transvestite parties and all these gay things going on. Now, the thing is, it's going into the schools now, into the schools and into the kids. Like this lady was saying, from 4 years to 8-year-olds, they're trying to indoctrinate the children. Now, we're fighting against this in America. The Democrats are on the side of what they're calling human rights, and it's really not human rights. It's really indoctrination for LGBTQ, XYZ, ABC 123, whatever they want to put in their dictionary for it. They bring it. Now, the Republicans are fighting against it, saying, this ain't cool, man. Leave the kids alone. And everybody knows Donald Trump, the bad guy, who is going to be running for Republican office in 2023, has a plan to fight against this. Here's what he has to say.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination and the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
We hit hard here, but it's all to give you the reality of what's going on out there. I want to just once again say we love you all. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, and we're praying for you in Africa. We love you all so much. There's one much greater than we are, and it's God up above, and he will never leave you or forsake you. And right now, he is smiling on Africa, and I just want to say, get ready. Get ready. It's coming. It's on its way. Blessing is over Africa. We love you all. Have a blessed night from America.